I didn't mean to kill Austin. Ashley, I really didn't.
Works its way through the courts, his attorneys filed a motion asking he be allowed to stay at MDC.
Crime of first-degree murder. I adjudicate you guilty of the premeditated first-degree murder of Tristan Bailey. I sentence you to life in prison.
This is Dylan Shoemaker, a 16-year-old teenager from Springville, New York, facing first-degree assault and second-degree murder charges for the death of 23-month-old Austin Smith. On the 19th of March 2013, Shoemaker was arrested after his girlfriend Ashley Smith returned home from her shift at a restaurant to find Austin, one of her two young sons, beaten to death. Ashley and her two boys from previous relationships had moved in with Shoemaker and his family after she was sent away by her own parents. And on this particular day, he had to babysit the two boys while she went to work that evening. It was while babysitting that 23-month-old Austin started to cry, and Shoemaker got so angry about the baby's cry that he started to pummel the child to shut him up.
Deputies, upon arrival, immediately noted the bruising about the face and head of the child.
Shoemaker was arraigned and held in the Erie County Holding Center without bail. In court, Shoemaker pleaded not guilty.
My client appears to be, to me, a very immature 16-year-old.
That was Shoemaker's defense. He was an immature 16-year-old who didn't even know what was right or wrong. They stuck with this angle even before the judge. At this point, the prosecutor brought in the report from the police that determined that little Austin died from blunt force trauma. The full testimony from the medical examiner established that the victim sustained ruptured blood vessels in his left ear and near his right eye, hemorrhages in his retina and perioptic nerve, and subdural and subarachnoid hemorrhaging. The testimony continued stating that the victim also had numerous contusions and abrasions on multiple areas of his torso, buttocks, scalp, face, and neck. It was the medical examiner's opinion that the cause of the victim's death was diffuse axonal injury.
Shoemaker was sentenced Friday for beating 23-month-old Austin Smith last March. Before the sentence was handed down,
Shoemaker looked like a remorseful person, pleading with his girlfriend and stating that he wasn't the kind of person who would murder a child. In fact, his sister felt the relationship between him and a girlfriend with two sons was a burden that added too much pressure on his teenage shoulders, and it may have caused him to snap, but even then, he wasn't the type to hurt anyone.
Do you think that he could have hurt a child like this?
I don't think no. He's never hurt anyone before. He's my baby brother. Like, he can't do this. There's no way. I still don't believe it.
However, additional medical examiner testimony made the court question the sincerity of these pleas. For one, it showed that Shoemaker wasn't truthful in his testimony, because the medical examiner's testimony pointed out that the child's injuries were not consistent with a slip and fall, as the defendant testified occurred, but instead were the result of multiple impacts. Other evidence, including text messages that the defendant sent and his trial testimony, established that the child was initially injured before 5 South p.m. and that defendant inflicted further injuries upon him over a period of several hours during the evening. The defendant admitted hitting the victim several times, including backhanded smacks to his face and slamming his head on the ground while changing a diaper, all of which culminated in the defendant placing the victim on a bed with a pillow over him and repeatedly punching him in the head. Austin died shortly after.
Austin Smith was completely defenseless. That's a given. But there were other dynamics at work there, including my client's inability to either control his anger or frustration and his inexperience in babysitting. Based on his short life now, what is to say he won't do this again?
A question to which even Shoemaker's defense had no positive response. It was going to be hard to get the court to believe those reports weren't the facts of what happened on that fateful day, and the judge was about to expose another shocking detail.
The record will show that you admitted that on July 23, 2013, in a phone call to your mother from the holding center, you stated, and I got a quote from the court reporter, "I am a 16-year-old blonde. Probably all I have to do is cry in front of the jury, and they're going to feel sorry for me," end quote.
This was completely unexpected, as you could feel the change in the atmosphere of the court, as State Supreme Court Justice M. William Baller called Shoemaker a manipulator and deceiver, citing 13 letters from witnesses and family members.
I would give my life for Austin. I loved him a lot.
Whatever Shoemaker had hoped would happen after putting out such an act, it was certainly not this, as Justice M. William Bowler proceeded to give him the maximum sentence.
Dylan Shoemaker, the Springfield teenager accused of beating his girlfriend's toddler to death.
Mind your own business.
What the teenager blurted outside the courthouse was much different from what he weepingly said inside.
Shoemaker, now 17, was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison for the death of 23-month-old Austin Smith. Shoemaker beat a baby that was not his to death, but what happens when it is a crime against one's own family? This is Nehemiah Griego, who is facing charges of 2 counts of second-degree murder and 3 counts of child abuse resulting in death in South Valley, New Mexico.
It's horrific. What other word do you use? I mean, this is certainly the first time that I've been into a crime scene with this much destruction at one home.
According to police reports, 15-year-old Griego shot and killed his parents and 3 siblings at their house in Bernalillo County, South Valley. First, he shot his mother twice in the face around midnight with a .22 rifle. Then his younger brother Zephaniah woke up, and Griego actually told him he had shot their mother and even showed her to him before shooting him once in the head with the same weapon. He then went into the bedroom that his 2 younger sisters shared. The 2 girls were awake and crying at this point, and Griego shot them both in the head and shot one of the girls twice in the torso. All these had occurred while their father was working a shift at a homeless shelter. By 5 a.m., as his father returned home from work, Griego was downstairs waiting for him with an AR-15 type semi-automatic rifle that had a scope, and immediately his father stepped into the house. Griego shot him 4 times. This was when Griego decided to put 2 rifles into his father's van and drive to church, where his father was a chaplain. Once at the church, he spoke with various people, including his 12-year-old girlfriend and her grandmother, first telling them that his family was in a fatal car accident, but later saying they were shot in the family's home. This soon got to a pastor, who then asked Griego about his father.
What he was saying was, my family's dead.
The pastor and a guard decided to drive Griego back to the house, but called 911 on the way. When the police got to the house, it was mayhem.
It's horrific. What other word do you use? I mean, this is certainly the first time that I've been into a crime scene with this much destruction at one home.
The police also discovered the reason why Griego put the guns in the van.
We also know at this time that Nehemiah had been contemplating this for some time. The information that Nehemiah had contemplated going to a local Walmart and participating in another shooting there is accurate. We have no information at all that Nehemiah ever went to the church to cause anyone any bodily harm there. We do have information that the suspect also contemplated killing of his juvenile's girlfriend's parents. No charges are pending against her at this time, but that part of the investigation is still ongoing.
After detaining Griego, he was questioned, and he initially told the arresting officer that someone else had killed his family, but he soon confessed to being the shooter. The question on the authorities' lips was why? This was the teenager's response.
The motive, as articulated by the suspect, was purely that he was frustrated with his mother. He did not articulate that to our investigators any further or give any further explanation of that at all.
Frustration, and it took 5 lives. Interrogated by detectives, Griego confessed to the crimes. In court, since Griego was 15 when he committed this crime, the trial was delayed by some months. Then, his defense argued that he could be rehabilitated, and so after a lengthy hearing in children's court to determine whether he could be psychologically rehabilitated, the judge ruled in favor of Griego's treatment and sentenced him as a juvenile, which allowed his release from state custody. Now 18, Griego has undergone nearly 2 years of therapy at a state adolescent treatment center where his teachers, psychiatrists, and others conclude that he had made significant progress after being diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, and some learning disabilities. However, when he turned 21 in March 2018 and was expecting his release, the judge didn't rule in his favor. The reason? Well, certain multiple reports came out about Griego dishing out death threats to guards and other inmates.
These new court documents show Nehemiah has made more than 3 dozen death threats since he's been in juvenile custody. 2 employees at the juvenile facility where Griego is being held say he has threatened to fight them. One employee described him as a hothead with anger issues.
Then there were rape allegations against him, even though the accusers refused to step forward because of the consequences of being labeled a snitch. Even his 2 half-sisters claimed he had made disturbing comments about getting released.
I personally would like him to stay behind bars. I think he is a danger to society, and I think he's a danger to our family.
With all of these before the judge, it was stated that he wasn't fit to be released. Therefore, he was going to be tried as an adult since he was now 21 and couldn't continue to stay in a juvenile prison. Griego had already pleaded guilty to 2 counts of second-degree murder for his parents' deaths and 3 counts of child abuse resulting in death. Resuming court, it became a battle of the defense trying to get the judge to see a rehabilitated Griego and the prosecution, which would ironically include Griego's 2 half-sisters, giving testimonies as to why the judge should ensure that their half-brother was never released from jail.
There's so many memories and experiences my family and my children and my husband will never have with my father and with Sarah and with Zephaniah in jail and Angelina. Because Nehemiah chose to make that decision that night.
After the siblings' testimonies, Griego was given the opportunity to address the court.
Hearing Nehemiah Griego for the first time, he spoke to his sisters sitting on the benches in the courtroom.
I am sorry for taking our parents and our sins. You know, I wish I could take it back. Reality is that we can't. I want no retaliation. I love you guys, and I want to see the best for y'all. And whatever you may do, and I do pray for you guys to have healing the way I'm having healing.
He then spoke to the judge after addressing his family.
Even the worst of us can make progress. Even the ones that have been through hell and back can still make it.
Telling the judge he's ready to go out into the world and make a better life for himself.
After hearing from both sides, the judge sentenced Griego to serve 30 years each for the murders of his 3 siblings, who were 9, 5, and 2 when he shot and killed them, and another 14 years for killing both of his parents. Practically a life sentence. He got credit for time served, and so will be eligible for parole when he is 52. Griego nearly escaped justice for murdering his entire family, but what happens when a family tries to cover up a shocking crime? This is Aiden Fucci, who is facing charges of first-degree premeditated murder in St. Johns County, Florida, for the death of 13-year-old middle schooler and cheerleader Tristan Tyne Bailey. On Mother's Day, May 9, 2021, 14-year-old Fucci was caught on a residential surveillance camera walking around at 12:15 a.m. with Bailey. A later recording showed Fucci running alone in the opposite direction with his shoes in hand. By 3:31 a.m., the front porch camera at Bailey's house showed Fucci with shoes in hand. Later in the day, the camera at Fucci's home showed his mother taking his blood-soaked clothes for washing, clearly looking troubled as Fucci followed her around. Back at Bailey's home, it was 9:40 a.m. when her siblings went to wake her up to make Mother's Day breakfast together, only to discover she wasn't there or anywhere for that matter. After searching for a while and being unable to reach her through her phone, her mother, Stacy Bailey, called 911 around 10 a.m., sounding very upset. By 2:54 p.m., the police were investigating on site, and they soon found out from Trey, a mutual friend of Fucci and Bailey, that Fucci was the last person seen with the missing girl. So the police decided to meet with Fucci at his residence, 724 Castledale Court, and his initial narrative from the incident report narration produced by the officers was that he and Bailey had left Trey's house and walked to North Durban Parkway, where Bailey turned onto Cloisterbane Drive to go to her home, and he walked along North Durban Parkway and arrived home between approximately 0300 and 0330 hours. However, the officers wanted to know why it took him 2 hours to get home from Trey's house, since they lived less than 30 minutes apart. This was when Fucci changed his story to this. He and Tristan continued walking north along North Durban Parkway and got into an altercation after Tristan grabbed his penis. Aiden stated he forcefully pushed Tristan to the ground, which caused her to strike her head. Aiden advised the incident occurred near the 600 block of North Durban Parkway, just north of Leith Hall Drive. Aiden said he was not sure if he saw Tristan get up due to him being dizzy from smoking marijuana earlier at Doff's house. Aiden advised that after the incident with Tristan, he walked around alone for a while. Since an assault has been admitted, Fucci was taken in for questioning, and his parents contacted an attorney. However, while waiting in the cop's car, Fucci decided to go online.
We're having fun in a f***ing cop car.
Yep. Tristan.
What's up, guys? Tristan, if you f***ing walk out the damn...
When you see this in a month...
This was while the search for Bailey was still ongoing, and everyone was worried sick. The officers were busy trying to get access to call and text records from Bailey's phone, while at the same time getting information from some of her acquaintances that Fucci had talked about. But obviously, The whole situation was a big comedy show for Fucci, as he seemed to find it funny that his friend was missing, because he soon posted this picture.
Fucci also snapped this photo.
The banner read, "Hey guys, has anybody seen Tristan lately?" Clearly, Fucci was completely unbothered, and this didn't sit well with the officers in charge, who immediately took his phone privileges away. By 6:06 p.m. on this fateful day, the police received a 911 call that ended the search for Bailey. This was the officer's report in the incident report narrative. I was notified the sheriff's office received a call from Daniel Hart, who advised he located what appeared to be a deceased female in a wooded area east of the cul-de-sac on Saddlestone Drive. East of the cul-de-sac was a retention pond on the property of 4286 Racetrack Road, Durbin Creek Nursery. Patrol units responded and located a deceased female, later identified as Tristan Bailey. Deputy Robert Nagabaver pronounced Tristan deceased at 18:15 hours, and this was the state in which she was found. Tristan's hair appeared to be matted and red in color, which appeared to be blood. Tristan had multiple sharp force injury wounds on her hands, arms, and neck, and appeared to have additional sharp force trauma injuries to her back, evident by the holes in her shirt. This had become a homicide case. Fucci was now the main suspect in this homicide case, and his home was now part of an ongoing investigation. He was delivered to CID and placed in Interview Room 2, which had both audio and video surveillance. His father, Jason, and mother, Crystal Smith, were in the room with him, advising him not to say anything about any possible involvement.
All that. That's all I am. And then where we lived.
You know they found this girl, right?
Where?
In our neighborhood. Down our main street.
Is she good?
No, she's not. She's dead. That's why this is very important. It's all on you right now.
This is my problem.
You were the last one.
Last one seen with her. So right now, it's facing you right now, son. So however you talk, you breathe, you think, then you respond.
This is very serious, Aiden. You can't act like I don't know. I don't know. You can't, and you can't
He
say nothing.
understands this is serious. Clearly, you understand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything you say will affect you.
That Snapchat that you did was not very smart.
Not good at all. Now we have people wanting to burn our house down and our cars down because of that Snapchat thing you did. It's all over. You're all over the internet and everywhere. Social media.
It is on social media. You'll probably come stay with me after we get done with this, just for your well, safe being. You got no scrapes or nothing on you, right?
No, sir.
You sure don't smell?
I'm hungry. I don't sleep. I don't want to sleep. I can head her so bad. Did you tell me anything different in the cop car that we don't know about?
Mm-hmm.
No. Do you know if this girl got picked up?
I told him about her dealer.
You think she got picked up by him?
I mean, probably. She said she wasn't coming home. She said she's gonna find somebody to stay
After
at their
you left her
house.
there walking? Like, you think she got picked up after that? She just kept walking?
Probably. I mean, I don't know.
Do you know if she turned the other direction or she was just still walking behind you?
So you pushed her down and then you walked away. We shouldn't be talking.
I was just asking what he told the cops. I didn't say
understand.
anything. I was just asking what he told them.
As you walked away, you came straight home. You didn't turn back around and see where she went? you doing outside that late at night?
Well, at Trey's house, hanging out with them.
Did you kiss or do anything with this girl?
Be honest as you can to them.
To
Yes.
Yeah, I kissed her.
anything further? So your DNA's gonna be on her.
Very
We saw your shoes were off on the camera. While your shoes off.
Because my feet were hurting. And the shoes give me blisters.
Did you come home and then leave again? Did you sneak back out, or you're still at Trey's house the whole day?
I was at Trey's house.
Okay. It's just the one night I didn't ask where you were, so I was wondering. This is serious, Aiden.
It's very serious.
This is no joke. This is your whole life. Your whole life.
And ours.
And ours. And your brothers and sister. Enough for they can't go to school tomorrow.
Why?
Because the kids will hurt them.
They don't have no evidence that I know of yet. Unless you know any other thing I don't know. Did y'all have sex?
Did she really grab you and you just really pushed her, or was that?
No, she did.
Okay.
You don't know what happened to her after you pushed her?
Did she say ow or get mad?
And she said Aiden. She was like, Aiden. I think I pushed her, but I just told her to F off. And I just walked off.
Do you know what direction she walked in?
Probably the other way, because she wasn't next to me anymore.
You didn't look back or nothing?
Throughout the interaction, Fucci kept his narrative the same, but the facts, including the result of the police examination of his body after he was arrested, didn't match up with the narrative he painted. Like the buck knife with its tip bent and fractured, the cuts on his hand, the scratches on his shoulder, and other signs showed that Fucci had struggled with someone or something recently. The question was, who? Outside the interrogation room, the autopsy examination was going on, and also, just as Fucci's mother had said, the police were combing their entire house from top to bottom. And the search started to bear fruit. The police found one pair of wet white Nike brand high-top athletic shoes with blood, located between the dresser and the west closet wall of Fucci's bedroom. A white short-sleeved t-shirt with blood was located under the dresser in the closet in his bedroom. A white piece of paper with handwriting and blood was located in his bedroom on the closet floor after the dresser was removed. A pair of wet blue denim jeans was inside the laundry basket along the east wall of his bedroom. There were other things like this.
What is this and where was it found?
That was another drawing, and I don't recall where that one was found.
But it was in the vicinity of the desk?
Yes.
States 4Z. What is this and where was it found?
That is the drawing that was underneath the water bottle that was at the top of the first photograph.
Again, all these items were found in Aiden Fucci's bedroom.
Correct.
The police also got their hands on the house video surveillance system that showed Fucci and his mother washing his clothes. And they also got the neighbor's surveillance footage that showed Fucci and Bailey walking somewhere, with only Fucci returning with shoes in his hands. Fucci was charged with second-degree murder for his suspected involvement in Bailey's murder based on initial circumstances. He pleaded not guilty.
Fucci also suggested to investigators while Bailey was still missing that she may have gone to meet a drug dealer.
But the report from Bailey's autopsy was about to change everything. This was the examiner's report. Tristan appeared to have handprints on her upper left inner and outer thigh, inner left calf, inner right calf, and upper right thigh. The handprint on Tristan's upper left thigh appeared consistent with a right hand, and based on the pattern of the handprint, it was determined it would not have been her own hand. Then, the hard part. Tristan was found to have a total of 114 stab or cutting wounds, concentrated to the top of her head, back of her neck, the back of both of her arms and hands, and her back. Some of the injuries to her hands were penetrating, which indicated at the time of those injuries, her hands were on a hard object, most likely her head. Based on the nature of the injuries, it appeared the suspect was standing behind Tristan and came at a downward angle. Horrible news for any parent to hear, but the police had gotten their hands on the break they needed in this case, and more breaks were coming. The doctor who had performed the autopsy had pointed out that the cutting instrument used in the murder was a single-edged blade, approximately 4 inches in length, and they had recovered a metallic fragment from Bailey's skull that matched the fractured buck knife found at the crime scene. With this, Fucci's charge was changed to first-degree murder, as stated by the judge in his first trial.
There's also an assistant state attorney on the line, so if you say anything that's incriminating this morning, it may very well be used against you at a later time. Do you understand these rights as I just explained those to you?
Yes, sir.
All right. So let me tell you what you are charged with. You have been indicted by the St. Johns County Grand Jury on the charge of first-degree premeditated murder. That is a capital felony that is normally punishable by up to death or life imprisonment. In your case, because you are not yet 18 years old, death is not a possible sentence pursuant to the Florida and United States Supreme Courts, but this charge does carry a maximum penalty of life imprisonment. Do you understand the charge against you?
Yes, sir.
All right, there is probable cause to detain you on this charge pursuant to the indictment issued by the St. Johns County Grand Jury yesterday, as well as the arrest affidavit that I have previously reviewed. The indictment in capias that followed set your bond at none. Is the state still asking that he be held without bond? Mr. Lewis?
That is correct, Judge. The state's request is no bond.
All right, Ms. Peoples, you want to be heard on that issue?
We'll address that issue at a later date, Your Honor, with appropriate motions and witnesses.
Okay, thank you. Having reviewed the appropriate paperwork, I will preliminarily make a determination that proof is evident, presumption is great, so you will be held without bond. Mr. Fucci, do you have any questions about these proceedings today?
No, sir.
The reality of the situation was beginning to make sense, and the court began to see Fucci unravel.
Aiden Fucci looks around aimlessly, appearing to be confused during court on Wednesday.
What you got going on? Why am I here? I just want to talk to my mom and dad. What's going on? What's going on?
He rocks back and forth and mumbles about demons.
What's got going on? I don't hate you demons. I don't let you demons take my soul. You demons want to take my soul away. I don't let you demons steal my soul.
But the game was up for him. The police had gotten Fucci's girlfriend on record, admitting that he owned the buck knife that was found at the scene of the crime.
Aiden kept knives for protection. He always had a knife on him if he wasn't at school. He would keep his AirPods. He listened to music to try and calm him down. He said that helped him with his anger.
When you say he kept knives, was it usually a different knife? Did he have one that he was partial to that was like his favorite, or?
He had like a few. He didn't really say he had a favorite. He just had knives, and sometimes he'd bring one or another, or
did he say any? Did he have? I mean, when you say knives, we're talking like
just like pocket knives,
like folding pocket knives.
Yeah, like they would fold up and.
Okay. If you had to describe any of them that you can remember, could you tell me about what they looked like?
Yeah. Well, there was mainly two that he would have on him, and it was one that his stepdad gave him. It was like a kind of gray, black, like army-looking one. It had a skull on it, maybe like an orange skull on it or something, and he called it Picker.
Okay.
Because it had, I guess, teeth. The knife had.
You mean like it had a serrated edge?
Yeah.
Okay. Did he have any others that he kept
Yeah,
normally?
There was another one. It was like yellow, and it was like it was made out of wood, I think.
Okay.
And he called that one.
Did it look like this?
Yeah,
Did it look like it, or is that the same type of knife?
that's the same knife.
Okay. And just so you understand, I'm holding a folding buck knife
Yeah.
with a brass frame, right? And a wooden handle. Okay. So you've seen him carry a knife like that
Yeah. It was
pretty commonly?
Yeah, it was mainly those two.
Okay.
He broke one of them.
And I think I cut you off. You were saying he called it something?
He called one picker, and then he called that one poker.
This girlfriend even pointed out troubling behaviors Fucci would often exhibit when they were alone, even talking about a desire to commit murder.
He said that he would just walk at night or something and find like a random person walking to and just drag them in the woods and stab them. He said that he thinks it's gonna happen soon. He said I should expect it within the month.
She also confirmed in the incident report that Fucci would draw graphic pictures depicting mutilated bodies. Adding that, he claimed to hear voices in his head when he was angry. The voices would tell him he was worthless and a disappointment, and the voices would tell him to kill people when he was angry. These testimonies showed that this crime was 100% premeditated, and coming from a close friend with whom Fucci spent most of his time wasn't helping his case. And the trial was delayed for a couple of months, and Fucci remained in holding without bond. While Fucci was in holding, his mother, Crystal Smith, was charged with tampering with evidence for washing his blood-soaked clothes. And even though she initially pled not guilty, she was sentenced to 30 days in jail and 5 years probation. And still, the surprises from the Smith family kept coming. Fucci's defense on resuming court changed their plea from not guilty to guilty. It didn't seem like an attempt at a plea deal, something the Bailey family pointedly said they wouldn't accept. Fucci was simply tired and was finally admitting that he had committed this murder.
Your attorney has informed me that you'd like to enter a plea of guilty to the charge of first-degree murder. That is a sentence that is a crime which is punishable by up to life in prison. The minimum sentence that the court could impose would be 40 years in prison. You just heard the state outline that range. Do you understand the range of possible penalties that you're facing if you enter this plea today?
Yes, Your Honor.
You understand that the minimum sentence that this court could impose for you would be 40 years in prison. You understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
And the court could impose all the way up to life in prison. Do you understand that as well?
I do, Your Honor.
And the way that this works is if the court were to sentence you to 40 years up to life, it would also be eligible for a review sentence of that sentence in 25 years. At that point, another body would then come back and review what we're doing here today, and they would look at that sentence and determine whether or not they should change that sentence. However, that's no guarantee as to what they're going to do. That's just something in the statute that requires another body to review this court sentence in 25 years. Do you understand that as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
Fucci was ineligible for the death penalty as he was a juvenile when he committed the crime. Fucci also wrote a letter apologizing for the pain he caused Bailey's family and friends. Bailey's family had the opportunity to make some impact statements, and her sister's and grandmother's emotional statements were enough to show the world how deeply their family had been gutted by this crime.
My name's Alexis Bailey. I'm Tristan's second oldest sister.
And just so the court's aware, if you would just tell the court the order of the siblings.
So my oldest sister is Brittany Bailey. Again, I'm Alexis Bailey. I'm the second oldest sister, followed by my brother Tegan Bailey, Sophia Bailey, and then Tristan was the youngest of the family.
Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
$114. This jar now holds 114 stones, one for each of the 114 stab wounds that my sister had to endure. It was 1 hour and 42 minutes between when my sister was last seen and when Aiden Fucci was next seen, running out of the woods holding his shoes because his feet hurt. It's funny that such a simple statement can bring such anger. Aiden Fucci could show compassion for his sore feet, yet had nothing to leave for my beautiful sister. The number of questions I have for Aiden Fucci surrounding that night plague my mind. Did she see you coming at her with the knife? Or did you stab her while she wasn't paying attention? Did she scream out for help? Or was she paralyzed with agony? Did she cry for my mother? Did she beg you to stop? Did you hear her lungs gargling with blood? Or did you see it in her face when she realized she could no longer breathe due to her collapsed lungs? What were her last words? Did you stay to watch her die? Or did you leave her there in agonizing pain as you ran away? How long did she suffer? Did you watch the life leave her eyes? Do you know the answer to any of these questions? Or were you too caught up in the thrill of the kill?
She left that jar on the desk. When her grandma took her place, she dropped a white stone, as did every member of the family that came up there.
And you chose this. You chose this. How dare you? And yet, you get the freedom to still be alive. You ripped that same freedom away from Tristan that early morning of May 9, 2021. You did it deliberately and with unspeakable malice. You planned this. You put forethought and effort into it. You went out of your way to spread this evil into our lives. Your actions are beyond senseless and horrific. The only thing that even approaches justice is that you go to prison for life and that you will not be able to hurt anyone else or destroy any more lives. No, I do not forgive you, and I don't accept any pathetic apology you might offer. In my opinion, you apologized only when it became abundantly clear that the consequences of your actions were imminent. I hope these consequences truly are inescapable and that you are sentenced to life in prison. In 25 years, when your case is reviewed, I pray that people looking at it realize there is literally no other justice than to keep you behind bars until the end of your life. This is the least of what you deserve. This white stone represents the loss and happiness and emotional stability for me and my family, which died on the day this defendant chose to murder our granddaughter. Thank you.
And just like her grandmother, Bailey's father completely threw Fucci's apology out of the window.
You know, to Mr. Fucci, February 6th, you finally admitted to your guilt in murdering my daughter, Tristan, after you clearly sat in this room and agreed to all of the questions and statements that were read by the judge and admitted that you knew what you were pleading to. At the end of that, you turned around, or you didn't even turn around, you made an apology. I want to be clear, saying that your insincere apology is not accepted. In no part did I sense any glimmer of any true remorse felt in your apology. Without question, I know that statement was for some self-serving purpose that you have. During all of the proceedings in which we've been present, including these past couple days, at no point in time have I seen anything from you that is any type of remorse. I loathe your very existence and know that there is nothing within you that reflects the smallest amount of goodness or human decency.
And this final white stone for his loss.
Lastly, I want to place this rock. And this rock represents the loss to our family and the world for all of the good Tristan would have done. Thank you for your time.
The judge allowed these impact statements, for which all families involved were grateful. Then came the sentencing.
This crime is clearly an outlier, and it was shocking, and it is shocking to the conscious. This court finds that the defendant's participation in this offense was not the result of immaturity or impetuosity. He understood the risks and consequences of his actions. He previously told his girlfriend that he was going to do this. That clearly shows that he had been planning it. He attempted to cover it up by disposing of the murder weapon and throwing it into a lake. He then attempted to conceal evidence by hiding his shoes and shirt and jeans, taking a shower, stealthily entering his home, and then the actions immediately after, with the Snapchat videos in the back of the police car and the story that he made up about pushing her and her hitting her head, which was clearly refuted by the video evidence in this case. All of that shows, and this court finds, that this was not an immature or an impetuous type of crime. It makes it unique. It makes it extraordinary. What is also very troubling is that this crime had no motive. This was not done out of greed. It was not done in retaliation, retribution, or revenge. It was not a crime of passion. It was not a crime that was committed because he felt rejected by her. It was not done in a fit of uncontrollable anger. There was no reason. There was no purpose. It was done for no other reason than to satisfy this defendant's internal desire to feel what it was like to kill someone. It was committed in a cold, calculated, and premeditated manner without any pretense for moral or legal justification, and it was heinous, atrocious, and cruel. This factor and this factor alone makes this case and this defendant more than just unique. It is for this reason and all of the reasons previously stated that leads this court to the conclusion that there is only one appropriate sentence in this case. Mr. Fucci, if you and your attorneys would please rise. Counsel, is there any legal reason why this court cannot impose sentence at this time?
No, sir.
Mr. Fucci, having entered a plea of guilty to the crime of first-degree murder, I adjudicate you guilty of the premeditated first-degree murder of Tristan Bailey. I sentence you to life in prison. Because of your age, you are eligible for review of the sentence in 25 years. I order the Department of Corrections to notify you when you are eligible to apply for your review hearing. Madam Clerk, if you will please impose the minimum fines and court costs. Mr. Fucci, you have 30 days to appeal the legality of this court's sentence. If you wish to appeal but cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you. You will be taken back to the Duval County Jail and then transported into the Florida State Prison System. We are adjourned.
Aiden Fucci got life for the murder of Tristan Tyne Bailey.